Hello, Go viewers. This is me, Chris, and George, and we'll be doing a couple smaller segments in our larger segment this morning, my morning. The first one is watching a game Chris played recently, actually a teaching game against Roland Four-Down Professional. Take it away, George.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry, Chris.
no worries. So I took black this game. He took white, and he was telling me after the game the whole thing he was trying to do was because he didn't really get a sense for how strong I was the first game we played. He was just going to try to play simple, calm, normal moves and not try to go too crazy. So we'll sort of get to see how a professional might go about doing that against 5, 6, 7 down amateur. So I start by playing something very popular. This 3/3 point in the corner can't be wrong. And then white approaches low. You can also approach high. So far, everything is normal. Here, I make the first interesting choice of the game. A lot of times when black has the star point, black is going to play the pincer here. The meaning of the pincer is that black is hoping that we can sort of settle out something like this, and that because of the star point, white might choose to play low here. And then later, black can bother that low stone. It's a little soft. We can play a move like this or like this. And the direction should be good for black too in the switch because black is getting this shape, which is useful against white's wall. Now in the future, black can think about stretching up the head to A and bothering the white 3 stones a little bit. But I opted to play a little bit more my sort of territorial style. This is like when I'm not really sure how to play against somebody, this is what I default to. It's just nice and easy. It's more of like a control-oriented theme. I don't want his wall to develop anything big, so I make a very small, locally strong group that's hard to attack to keep the wall from being able to expand efficiently. And he just plays normal. Of course, white can tanuki here. This is a very common shape white will very often step away from at professional level. So like 3/3 was fine for white. Approaching also fine for white. He chose to keep it simple. And now in the opening, we've got 2 choices, right? We can approach A or we can enclose B. These are the 2 main opening moves. I chose the enclosure. There's a bit of contention about which side is better to enclose, even among stronger players. Some players say it's 1, some players say it's 2. I tend to lean more towards liking 2 more. I think even if white comes to 1, the fact that I can still attach a Q10 and invade is attractive to me. Those are sequences I'm comfortable with, so that's the main reason why I opt to play this direction and give up point to white. And then I get the other corner as well. So here I'm very, very happy. If white wanted to keep balance, white would have enclosed himself. Black still ends in sente, but now we both have an enclosure, so as opposed to white having this approach zone, which may be worth more or less. It's hard to say at the moment.
Let me catch up. Could you pass me control?
Yeah.
I'm a much slower person than you are. Okay.
No worries. Feel free to stop me as much as you need.
Thank you. Okay. So in the old days, before AI, we would not consider not playing this move. So what is it about the A stones that we don't feel we can be pushed around?
They can make a base at any point by extending. They can also run to the center. And the third and sort of other key detail, the tactical detail that AI shows us, is that white has a leverage against black's corner that helps white move the stones out to the center lightly.
Can you show me?
Yeah, I can. So for example, let's say white had played away and black had, let's just have white play away twice and black get the really, really strong attack going, right?
Okay.
One of the things that white would very often do in the shape is just attach. And the meaning becomes very, very clear. If black cuts through, white can either step away and give away the 2 stones. Something like this was a possibility. Now black has spent innumerable amount of stones in the corner
to
for
take
something not very
tiny
big.
little stones. Okay.
Or in some cases, white would block. And if black were to play either of the Ataris, we can sort of see immediately the issue is that white is still alive in the corner.
Okay. I did not know any of that.
Yeah, so there's a tactic here.
04 before.
Yeah, there's a tactic here. Sort of, I remember the first time I saw it was in a Guli Lisa Dole game. It was one line higher, so on the star point instead of the 3/4, but the principle can be applied here as well. There's enough space for white to do it. And when black extends to remove white's forcing moves, then at that point, white can just block and thicken the shape up, and white's in good shape here. Now, black could sometimes play this one, but white's already protecting the cut with the knight's move.
Okay. Passman control again.
Yeah, let me give that to you really quick.
I'm getting close to understanding.
Yep.
Let's pretend this is here.
Yeah, so this is a common method that black could do if black wants to be thick to avoid 04.
Okay. So here, white to play.
Yep.
How urgent is it compared to in the game?
Probably still not so urgent, because even though black is thick and 04 is gone, black is also moving away from the 2 stones. Directionally, white could leave it again.
Okay.
Now here, I think white might consider whether it's big enough to save or big enough to take another move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That is fantastic information.
Yeah.
Oh, I would spend 10 minutes here just soaking that in. To me, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Okay. So control again was another question.
Let me give you control back. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Goes here. Now, let's do a Tawari. Black, white, black.
Yep.
And that's game. And there's nothing weird about that.
Correct.
Okay. Which brings me to another question. Sorry. Something we see all the time. Kaboom. Oh, we all know this.
Yeah.
I never see black playing away allowing this.
Okay. Sometimes I do.
Well, sometimes,
but
5, 4, 3% of the time. So
no, there's a reason for this, actually.
That suggests that this is a bad move.
A lot of cases, it's not the optimal way to approach the 3/3. Yeah, the AI sometimes considers D16 to be the novelty rather than the standard.
Okay, because it's just the influence and you don't get a base, therefore why you're approaching on the 4/4. Okay.
Yeah, like you need a center setup for it already to make this move make sense in Tawari from AI point of view. This is why normally AI will approach like 2 space low at like C14 or something.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Turning into my lesson, taking everyone's time.
Yeah, no worries. By all means. Because there's a lot, even just the simple jumping that a lot of players take for granted, there's a meaning behind it. And it's not just that white is looking to make a base. Because if white wanted a base, white would have played it low.
Right.
White has a suggestion with this move. And that suggestion is, I'm going to take control of the center. We see that developing pretty clearly in white's entire board position because all of white's stones are oriented on the 4th line or higher. White is going for thickness, influence. Black is playing for territory. Now here, Ilya thinks he might have played something slightly, I won't say dubious, but maybe not the most optimal professionally. He said if he could play it again, he might go here. This extension would be keeping consistent with everything white did. Instead, what happens in the game is white plays this Hane, and now we have a very interesting question. A lot of players here will do what I did, which is just sort of Hane and rote. But actually, given the board structure as it stands, it's entirely possible for black to cut now and start this confrontation. Of course,
show us the basic fight here and why it would be good or bad for somebody.
So white can descend and black can live in the corner, something like this. Black is alive. Whoops. Then if white push up, black can jump. We can get some shape like this or some shape like this, depending on which side white thinks is more valuable. The idea is black is going to separate white, and white is going to have a group moving on 2 different sides. The reason it's attractive for black to fight here is because I already control the low settled stone on both.
Okay.
So neither of white's groups are particularly impressive. And if black is getting able to move out to the center for free here, a lot of white's influence is going to be restricted as well.
Okay.
So
Great.
there's an argument that if black cuts now, white might have to adjust the variation to account for this. Right? White might have to play something like this and go for this type of fight instead, where his shape is much tighter and much more pressure on my center stones.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure about the fight, this particular variation in the fight, so I didn't go for it immediately. I played the Hane instead. And this is one of the cases where if white wanted to sort of punish that decision, we're going to use punish in air quotes, white could just extend here. Because white extends and the fight is removed. Okay. Without that extension, the game move was white decided to come back and switch here, which was also okay. But without that extension, if black gets sente, this cut is going to be still a favorable fight for black. And the reason, again, for this is going to be after white is sort of settling the stones here, we could get something similar to this or something like this. This exchange, A for B, has now become a bad exchange for white.
I see.
Right?
Gotcha.
Because it doesn't really make sense to have this exchange on the board with this fight in the top left.
Right. White would prefer being at B and black being at A. Yeah.
Correct. So this is another one of the reasons why, like here, one of the things black should be thinking about is what's the variation that's going to allow me sente so that I can go back to this move. And this is what I was thinking about during the game. Spoiler, I didn't actually ever get to it. But it was on my mind, and I knew it was something I was supposed to be looking for. Now here, this one is a pretty basic switch. This one aims to revert to the 3-3, switch Josekis if black cuts through, or it offers black the ability to play this way, in which case white can take all the power at the left-hand side.
Yeah,
this was white's plan. Ilya thinks that on this board, this is okay for black. Even though this is white's plan, he thinks this is probably better slightly, ever so slightly, than the game. Because even though the bottom is relatively hard to build, like black can't really play this one to build it on this board, right. Black does get the sente to start the fight now, which is still a good fight for black. Even though white gets the extra power stone, right? Like we can play something like this, and then black can do this jump or some such. Even though we get some variation like this or this one, and white does have the extra support at A, it still doesn't change the fact that this BC exchange was bad. And the fight is completely doable for white. And actually, there's an argument that the A stone might not be in the best spot for pressuring. Like if white jumps, black might even lean on that stone to settle. White's going to get territory on the left. Like white's not going to die there. White's going to get a lot of points. But if black can handle the white center, the left side is not enough territory. Right. Black has 4 corners.
Yeah.
Right. So that would have been the ideal way for black to play. And I agreed with him. Me being a non-human player, I like to resist everything my opponent does because no, you don't get to have your plan.
Yeah.
So I cut. And I start this fight instead. And he didn't really have much to say other than the AI usually thinks the other way is better. This fight is playable. It's not going to lose black the game, but it makes the game a bit harder in terms of timing. Because black still needs to find the right moment to step away to get that cut on the top side.
Okay.
And so we get the variation that plays out up to here. And everything so far is Joseki. I use air quotes around that. It's a fight, but it's considered Joseki.
Okay. I don't get D10.
So D10 is a probe in the shape that's aiming to cut. So if black cuts at A, white is not alive yet on the left. And it's going to allow black to thicken the cutting stones at the center.
I see.
And
play it through.
Yeah.
Just so I make sure my if black cuts there.
Yeah, so it's something like this. Oops, hold on. This. We can say this one, this one, this one.
Okay,
this one.
Because of that. Okay, it took me a minute to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, when black already has this C1 Atari, this is one of the details. The white capture at B is no longer sente. So it's kind of like black's privilege to take that stone whenever black wants, the white stone on the left.
I see.
So yeah, this is just aiming for the cut, which is why in the game he's simply defended. And usually black can treat this as a good exchange already. But I actually didn't have the correct evaluation of this position. I put more importance on the defense of the 3 stones this game than I was supposed to. So I learned, one of the big things that I learned is actually this black cutting stones on their own are already strong enough. They don't really need a lot of extra help anymore. And the reason is because if white comes from below something like J5, let's just have black pass, then black can just get out. Right? We can just make some exchanges and run north.
Okay.
They're not going to die. And if white covers, we just run east. Like there's not one move white can play that stops both directions that is enough to really justify black spending a move in Gote to save them. So if black does continue from the 3 stones, whatever black plays should be Sente. In the game, I decide to slip in the capture. This is a little detail type move. It's aiming to create a liberty shortage and turn on the cutting point around E3. Put a lot of pressure on it. So this capture is an indirect defense of the cut. And it also means that, again, I have B5 whenever I want it for whatever it ends up being worth later.
I've got a question here.
Sure, let me give you control.
There's something that's hard for me. Many things are hard for me in life and in Go. Okay.
No worries.
Something we see. Not only defending the black stones, but defending them, turning them into a healthy group. Sometimes we say, oh, play off your weak group. Other times we go, weak? That's plenty strong. And I'm lost as to when. I mean, if you played this and you had said, oh, this is, oh, didn't you know? This is just the way, okay, I didn't.
Yeah, no, because I didn't really know how to handle them either in the game. Like I said, this is one of the reasons I lose this game, was because I misunderstood how I'm supposed to handle E6. Like, I think even for strong players, it's hard in some of these cases.
Okay, so if we're not, so the question would be, I guess I have control here.
Yep.
What is important? And perhaps we can say, well, those A stones never got finished. And the B stones are actually still, that's just the one eye. So we don't want to just live in the center. We must
do something.
Keep white's overall weakness intact.
Yep. And Ilya agreed with you.
Okay.
Yeah, his recommendation was start this fight now.
Start the fight. Yeah.
Because white, it doesn't matter which way white.
Okay. Have a good day.
Yeah, because A and B are already a Miai. They're already a Miai for black.
Yeah.
There's no immediate danger. So if we compare danger levels, right? We look at the 2 weakest things on the board of opposite colors and go, okay, danger 1, danger 2. Which one is actually the one in more danger? White is the one in more danger.
Okay.
So black should be going for this, because if black can go for this, this result is so good for black.
Yeah, your D10 is just shining.
Yeah, this exchange became really powerful. Right, because at any point when black blocks, white's going to have to capture, black's going to have to capture, and white really doesn't want to have to end this move in Gote. So if this exchange happens, white probably has to Tanuki. And if white has to Tanuki, then that's profit, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the reasoning here, is that it's very hard for white to fight this. And actually, he was saying it's even a case where white might even think about sacrificing locally. It's just overall not very good. It's really strong for black. But in the game, I wasn't sure really what I was supposed to do yet. I was looking at the cut, but I didn't play it. I captured instead, just making sure that sort of a5 was my privilege and asking the question to the bottom group now. But this gives white the time. The thing is, and he said it even after the game, even when white goes here, white's not alive yet. So the value of this move is actually relatively small. It might still be better for white to extend and give this point up to black. And then just later in the game, white can do something like this and extract the h4 stone. Because the capture overall is quite small. If white is able to return to the top left first, then white should be in good standing. But in the game, he did end up defending, sort of to see what black would do. This is the hallmark of a teaching game. And this was my chance to really do the powerful thing. And instead I play this one, trying to keep the group in the center thick.
Yeah.
So I'm preparing basically a Miai. I'm preparing something like A and something like B. This was my plan. I thought, okay, I'll handle the center like this, and white for sure is going to play something like this one, or maybe here to settle. I'll try to get Sente from that and then cut. But I wanted the center to be strong enough when I did that, but it was just not very good. This move sort of caught me off guard. This knight's move. Killed all the power of the D10 stone on the left.
Yeah. Tiny little nothing move that just extinguishes.
It's a very professional move. And it was admittedly a move I did not consider that white would play. This was a complete oversight by me. I was very surprised. Like, I could understand white playing A. A would be a very common move. And he said he thought about it. I could understand white even capping the one stone to keep double pressure. Those moves make sense to me. But this move is the move I see a lot of professionals play, and it's like completely off my radar. And then here's the beginning of the end because I got distracted by the wrong shiny thing. I thought white was supposed to play on the bottom. And so because white didn't, I wanted to punish. So I stepped to the bottom. But the correct move is still black needs to cut. This is the most urgent thing on the board right now.
Okay.
So white simply comes out. And here he thought about a bunch of different ways to come out. He settled on this way in particular, this attach and bamboo, because this one is the way where white is in good shape and black is in bad shape in the center. White is not alive. It's important to recognize black can clamp and white is dead. But white is out. So in the game, I play this jumping move. This move was basically designed to stop white from covering here. I really didn't want to see white K8 hit the board. So I decided I would start chasing a little bit to try to remove white's counter surround in preparation for my cut. This was a really sharp peep. For players that are one-don watching this, don't do this move. When you play it, it's bad. When the 4-don pro plays it, it's powerful. Yeah, it was good because it was used in combination with a Tesuji, which was this clamp. And the Tesuji was effective because it made me think that the right sequence was bad for me. That's the best way I could put it. I completely misevaluated. Now, the obvious move for black here is the correct one. Black should thrust. It's not even a question. But what I was reading in my head was, okay, I'm going to thrust and white's going to drive and break my shape. And I really didn't like that my shape was getting broken. Like I could come out like this again, but then I'd have to step back another time and then white's getting to turn. And I was reading this out and I was like, well, white just gets to walk out for free. But the detail that I missed is A, white is still not alive. So black can just hane or jump here and it's fine. But white's not making any territory with this. And the other thing that's important is that when black comes back to here, black is just winning the game. Because white has no territory. And black is now healthy in the center of the board.
Yeah.
So all the way back here, I was aware that this move existed when I played one, this knight's move. And I kept revisiting it in my head, but I always thought it was just Gote bad. And I talked myself out of it. You're going to see several times in this game from now, this is the right move, and I miss it every time because I'm talking myself out of playing it every single time. And then there's still the big glaring question of when is black finally going to come back to play this cut? White has left it this whole game already. But this was the best variation for black. I chose to play a little more simply. I just connect. But this one is too soft on white. White gets the cover, black connects under, but now white gets to cap and move out while attacking black. So it might look very similar to the other variation, but actually black is weaker in this one. And then this is really where I start making really big mistakes. At this point, I thought a lot about what to play next, and the move that really came to my mind was this one. Playing this knight's move to just try to stabilize the center. I figured, okay, white might do something like this and kill the one stone, but I would be okay with that as long as the center is adequately defended. And you know, in true bad strong player fashion, I talk myself out of it. And instead, I decide, okay, maybe I'll just lean on the white group a little bit. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to attack it anyway. So I'll lean on the group, and the idea would be something like, okay, Hihane, extend. Then now I've gotten that extra little bit of help in the center. Maybe I can come back and start this fight. That was as deep as my plan went. However, for those of you that are very fighting inclined, which against stronger players, I am not, I missed something very stupidly obvious. And it's the white is not going to Hane. No. Instead, white is going to bump. And now all of a sudden, when I saw that move land, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Because I saw that he could bump literally half a second before it appeared on the board. And it was like, wait a minute, he can, and then he clicked it. And I was like, well, that's a problem. Because I know that I have to play like this now, right? And then white is going to get all the territory.
Oh, like, man, that right is so big.
And he's going to get an incentive because I still need this move.
Yeah.
Like this, white is caught up a lot in points. Now the game is probably slightly in white's favor, because if I have to come back and Gote, guess where white gets to play? White gets to go here next. So I scrapped that and I said, okay, fine, we're going to fight about it. And then I went from being ahead by 2 points to immediately being down by 4 with these last 2 moves. And then here I made another oversight. Again, I'm thinking to myself, I need to just play the knight's move, give white the jump in the center, either one of them, something like this, right? And then I can go back and try to use this cut as leverage to thicken my Ogema a little bit. So the main idea being, if like he plays like this and then comes, I can do something like this and then takes. Basically thicken the shape up with the sacrifice. And I'm calculating, but already I'm tilted because I don't like the result that I got. I know I've made a mistake. And this is really, really hard for human players, right? When you make a big mistake against a stronger player, the feeling of dread, like, damn it, now the game is over.
Yeah.
So I make another mistake trying to fight a little stronger. I play this one. I don't want to give him a jump. Yeah. But there's a very big glaring problem with this move too. Hey, George, white to play. Oh, he's muted. George, we don't hear you.
Looks like he's working on it.
Yeah, I wanted to quiz him at least once, you know. Arguably not my best showing. Nope, we still don't hear you, George. It's all right if his audio doesn't work. You can just type it in the chat. K10. See, K10 would be a great idea. That was what I was hoping he'd play. But actually, the best move for white is just here. And for black, there's just no continuation.
Yeah. It looks dead, mostly because of that B11 had such strength that nothing black can do now.
Yeah, so I find the sharpest resistance, which is the cut. But I don't play the cut in the best way. At this point, white's leading by about 7 to 8 points after these exchanges in the center. Because white damaged the J10 stone, that stone became completely wasted. I lost about half a stone worth of territory there. But as white, I can play this one, or black, I can play this one. White can connect, and then I can cross cut. And then if this one gets played, I can just counter cut, walk the group out, and keep fighting. It's fine. In the game, I was reading variations. I didn't like it, so I thought I'll just try to run out and see what I can get in coordination with the top left. And then he just comes back and Hanes, and I was like, okay, that's the victory declaration. There's no way I'm winning this game from here. Because I was expecting him to jump, right? Like, this is sort of the no-brainer automatic move. You either jump or you press, and you keep the attack pressure going because white is set up like you handle it. Instead, he said, nope, I don't need to fight you anymore. I'm just going to collect the center, and you're just going to lose on points. And so for the sake of both of our time, I just resigned here. I was in Yoyomi already or close to it. I resigned here and we decided to discuss the game. But yeah, the game wasn't really bad for me until this attachment at M8. I didn't have the confidence. Yeah, I can hear you now. I didn't have the confidence to play this move at the right time. Which would have fixed a lot of my problems, actually. Because for the players that are wondering, there is a cut for white in the center, but the cut is not attractive for white because black can sacrifice the left half of the group with this one space jump. If black is able to cut white off, we can imagine something like this, where black is getting extreme thickness in the center of the board. The white group is attackable still. For example, there's moves like this. Black can start with this attachment. White's whole right side gets broken. And white's in terrible shape, right? There's even things like this attachment in the future, stuff like that. So this would have been a great result for black. So like white could make the one push, but it's not a good exchange. Like black going here is just enough to stabilize. And what he said was a really good lesson even for strong players to hear. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and look at the whole board and realize it's okay to take gote when you have 4 corners. And the center is the only thing left important. Ergo, case in point, I had 4 corners. All I needed to do was live in the middle. And the game was pretty much winning going into the end game for black. It was good enough. But by trying to do too much, by getting a little too fancy, I created chances for the opponent, and he was able to punish. So
that's a lot of intense stuff, Chris.
Yeah, for 72 moves, right? But I like how simple he played. Like he didn't do anything crazy from his point of view. He just defended anything that was weak at the right time. And I think the star move for him the whole game was here. Because that's the one that really just left me sort of like speechless. Like a very simple looking move, but I feel like all the power that I was hoping to have with H7 in the position just kind of got sucked. Now it makes my diagonal look really bad.
Okay. Good. Well, we were wondering, I had actually mentioned this is going to be fragmented. We're going to do a couple things, but that took plenty of time.
Yeah, actually.
So we can stop there.
Sure, if you'd like. Okay,
viewers. Hopefully you didn't get as much of a headache as I did watching that.
Sorry.
Tough stuff.
Yeah.
Go was hard. There's no doubt about that.
It was very hard. Hopefully you got some good things out of it with the bottom left or the bottom right and the
totally did,
the left side stuff.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, viewers. Catch you viewers later. Say goodbye, George.
See you.